Imagine hearing the thundering of hooves echoing across the Wyoming desert, hundreds of wild horses running from their lives as helicopters chase them into holding pens. In just 2 weeks this past summer, the Bureau of Land Management rounded up over 1,600 wild horses, many of them young foals. According to Sacramento Bee reporter Brooke Battinger, in August 2025, more than 1,600 wild horses were rounded up in Wyoming's Adobe Town region, and 7 died from capture-related injuries. These are not just numbers, they are living, breathing symbols of American freedom. Yet today, their fate is being dictated by an outdated system that values control over compassion. As someone who's always been drawn to the bond between people and animals, especially horses, I followed this issue closely and studied multiple sources, from government reports to conservation research, to understand what humane management could look like. The BLM's current roundup policy is not only inhumane, but also financially unsustainable. We must replace it with humane, science-based fertility control programs that work with nature rather than against it. First, I'll show you why the current roundup system is deeply flawed. Then I'll explain the alternative, fertility control. And finally, I'll describe how we can make this a solution a national reality. The Bureau of Land Management uses helicopter roundups as its main method of controlling wild horse populations. These operations remove thousands of horses every year under the justification of overpopulation. According to Sacramento Bee reporter Brooke Battinger, in 2025 of August, the Adobe Town roundup ended 2 weeks early because more than 1,600 horses had already been captured, far exceeding the intended goal, and several died in the process, including foals suffering from capture stress and older mares injured during transport. Beyond the moral cost, this practice is financially unsustainable. The Environment and Energy News journalist Scott Streeter reported in March 2025 that the BLM spends over $100 million annually caring for horses in off-range holding facilities, which accounts for 2/3 of the agency's total wild horse budget. Despite these massive expenses, herd populations rebound quickly due to what biologists call compensatory reproduction. Nationally, more than 20,000 wild horses were rounded up in 2024 alone, and nearly 1,000 died during or shortly after capture, according to the same report. Each horse cost taxpayers roughly $2,000 a year to keep in long-term holding, an unsustainable cycle that helps no one. Meanwhile, humane fertility control programs receive only a small fraction of that funding. The result is an endless cycle of roundups, captivity, and taxpayer waste that fails both the horses and the land. Clearly, the system is broken, morally, financially, and ecologically. Now, let's take a look at a proven science-based alternative that can solve these problems humanely. The solution is to phase out mass helicopter roundups and instead implement PZP fertility control programs, a humane, cost-effective, and a proven approach supported by wildlife scientists. According to a news article from the nonprofit American Wild Horse Conservation, published in January of 2022, the PZP vaccine, administered remotely through darting, prevents fertilization without disrupting hormones or natural behaviors. It's reversible, safe, and 91.5% effective. PZP programs have already achieved zero population growth in several herds. These programs cost roughly $220 per horse compared to the $48,000 average lifetime cost of keeping one in captivity. According to an American Wild Horse Conservation News article from January 2022, the data is clear. Fertility control is both humane and financially responsible. In addition, several states already support legislation promoting these approaches. Colorado Revised Statute 3566-107 establishes an annual reporting system for wild horse fertility control programs, setting an example for other states to follow. According to Fine Law in January of 2024, similarly, Code of Federal Regulations Title 43, Section 4710.7 gives the BLM the authority to manage and maintain wild horses on both public and private lands, meaning the infrastructure for reform already exists. Now that we've seen what works, let's visualize what this reform could mean for the horses, the land, and the taxpayers. If nothing changes, the roundups will continue. Terrified horses chase for miles. families separated, and millions of taxpayer dollars wasted to confine animals that were born to roam free. But there's another way, and we know it works. On Osagie Island, wild horse herds have remained stable for more than 2 decades using only fertility control, with no roundups required. Similarly, in Nevada's Fish Springs herd, DART-based fertility management has prevented removals entirely while keeping populations healthy and balanced. Imagine a future where horses live freely, their numbers managed through science and compassion rather than fear and force. The vision starts with us, through action, advocacy, and accountability. It's time to urge the Bureau of Land Management and our elected officials to take the following steps. Phase out helicopter roundups and replace them with humane science-based fertility control programs. Relocate funding from holding facilities to field management and fertility control research. Update the Wild Free Roaming Horses and Burros Act of 1971 to make fertility control the primary management tool and require annual public reporting of herd data. As citizens, we can amplify this movement by contacting our representatives, supporting reputable advocacy groups, and sharing accurate information about what's really happening to these animals. By holding the BLM accountable and promoting policy reform, we can protect wild horses for generations to come. As we close again, think of the sound of the hooves, the symbol of freedom that has long defined the American West. We have a moral and practical duty to end cruel roundups and adopt humane, science-based solutions that preserve both the land and the wild horses that roam it. First, we examined how the Bureau of Land Management's reliance on mass helicopter roundups causes unfair, unnecessary suffering for wild horses, wastes taxpayer dollars, and fails to protect our public lands. Next, we explored how humane fertility control, particularly the PZP vaccine, offers a scientifically proven, cost-effective, and compassionate alternative. Then we visualized how the future these programs can create a landscape where wild horses thrive freely, ecosystems remain balanced, and federal costs are dramatically reduced. Finally, we identified concrete actions each of us can take, contacting our representatives, supporting the reform of the Wild Free Roaming Horses and Burros Act, and standing behind organizations that champion humane, science-based management. The Mustang has always represented resilience and freedom. Let's ensure that legacy continues, not as a memory of what was lost, but as a living testament to what compassion and science can achieve together. Thanks.